Kiev, of course, is welcoming the harsher sanctions on Moscow. They see it as support from the West. The United States and the European Union cite the ongoing clashes in eastern Ukraine and Russia's support for the separatists for imposing the new sanctions. CCTV's Tony Chang is in Kiev with more on that part of the story. Tony, hi there.
Hi, thanks very much. Yes, those sanctions being met with some relief here. I think many people here didn't expect such a unified response so quickly from the EU, which seemed to be faltering slightly in its response. It didn't have any immediate effect on the fighting in the east of the country, which was as fierce as it has been all week, and that then stopped the OSCE monitors from getting into the plane crash site for a fourth consecutive day, something that's frustrating them enormously. But certainly the government here in Kiev, I think, relieved to see a unified response enacted against Russia.
Ukrainian flags flying high over the Maidan on Wednesday. Kiev's central square that's seen so much upheaval is slowly returning to normal. And the news that tougher sanctions will be imposed on Russia suggests unified support for the Ukraine in the US and Europe. Some analysts have been surprised by the speed with which the European Union managed to decide on punitive measures.
The sanctions are not the answer to all the questions, but it's a demonstration to Moscow and Putin from the Western countries that Europe is prepared to act.
The reason for that decisive action lies here, in the belated, interrupted and unfinished work to recover and repatriate the victims of Malaysian Airlines Flight 17. Fighting and interference have kept crash investigators out of the site now for 4 days. Russia's president has been condemned for not using his influence to contain separatist rebels, but others are concerned about pushing Russia too far.
There is an awful lot of anger being felt towards Vladimir Putin here in the Ukraine, not surprisingly because people feel he's interfering in their own internal affairs. But there's also a feeling in the international community that the Russian president shouldn't be backed into a corner. And if he is, he's going to come out fighting.
The latest sanctions have been carefully designed to punish, but not alienate Russia.
Putin still has a chance in this framework to become a peacemaker, whose influence with the separatists can resolve the situation and give him a dignified exit.
And the announcement that peace talks will start in Belarus between Russia and Ukraine. But will the sanctions give them the impetus to succeed?
Talks must be held, but I'm not convinced they will work.
I think everything possible must be done to try and resolve the war in the East.
And one more positive indicator. Today, the start of a new monitoring mission on the Russia-Ukraine border. The European Union's OSCE will be based at 2 border crossings to monitor the security situation at the invitation of the Russian Foreign Ministry.
Well, some reserved optimism perhaps there from people on the streets of Kiev that this was perhaps a move in the right direction. But I think, again, people are aware that this is a country they feel that they're fighting a war against as such, and they are fully prepared for the fact that these sanctions won't have any immediate effect, although I think they feel it's pushing Russia perhaps in the right direction.
Well, Tony, between the sanctions and reports some of the militia leaders are being called back to Russia, support seems to be dropping away. Is Russia pulling back here?
Very hard to say. There's certainly no let-up in the fighting in the east, and I think many of the fighters on the ground feel the people that they're fighting against are dug in and are not going to give up the fight anytime soon. We have seen some of their political leaders being recalled to Russia. We were told in Donetsk a couple of days ago that was only temporary. It remains to be seen if they will return. Their forces are certainly being forced back around the cities of Donetsk and Luhansk. But I was speaking to one of the militia fighters again who felt that this was not, even despite the fact they've made good gains in the last couple of weeks and they feel, got the rebels surrounded. He felt it was going to be a fight that was going to go on for the next couple of months, could even drag on till the end of the year. And even if they do reclaim those 2 major cities, with the length of the border and the ease with which these rebels will be moving in and out across the Russian border, it's going to be very complicated to stamp it out altogether.
Thank you so much for the update. Tony Chang reporting live from Kiev. We'll see you again at the top of the hour.